Welcome back. It's strategy 4, and we're on a roll. Let's just check where we've been. We talked about the 18 months that we've just had being quite trying. A lot of us thrown in the deep end, having to do things in a different way. Maybe work from home, manage teams remotely, meet clients remotely. All of these things involve change, and sometimes they throw us off our game. I know certainly working from home can be a big challenge for some people who've got kids at home and that homeschooling and all that sort of stuff. So that's really why we sort of raise this. The first strategy we talked about was the myth of multitasking. Hopefully you remember that. The myth of trying to do more than one thing at a time. I am as guilty as the next person, probably far more guilty of that. But I do realize when I do focus on one thing at a time and get one thing done, I get more done and I get it done better. But the temptation, the habit of trying to multitask, of doing one or two things at the same time, maybe even three or four, is tempting, and I need to keep aware that it is an issue. The second one we looked at was streamlining with systems. We talked about developing systems. We talked about how systems can help get things done better, faster, easier. We then went into delegation. Now, if you're doing systems, then that's a really good place to start to delegate. And so when you delegate, you're delegating a system rather than delegating just anything. And remember that if you're delegating to somebody who knows the subject matter better than you, and there are very good reasons to hire people who know certain subject matter better than you. And I gave the example of my Facebook ads guy. He understands Facebook ads much better than me, and so I don't need to give him a checklist or anything. He does that himself, and he knows what he's doing better than I could lead him. So now we get to the fourth element, the fourth strategy, and that is scheduling. And here I want to talk about specifically scheduling emails and apps. Now, we typically will have a smartphone, we'll typically have emails, and these I would describe as time thieves. They steal our time. They are part of the multitasking framework that we've got sucked into without even knowing it. So 15 years ago, email was hardly a thing. Now it sort of runs our lives. And one of my coaches had a really good way of expressing it. He said, basically, when you're working on emails, you're working on somebody else's agenda. And I really like that. And that really brought it home to me. And hopefully it'll bring it home to you that working on emails is a necessary part of business life, but do it on your terms and don't be caught into working on somebody else's agenda. So we then want to talk about how to work with emails. I'll tell you a little bit about how I do. We'll talk about apps. We have smartphones with apps on it, and they are designed by these mega companies like Apple and companies like WhatsApp and stuff to make them very addictive. So they're a real danger sign, and certainly a time thief. We want to make sure that we are aware of all the things that these people have designed to distract us. So let's start with emails first, right? When we look at emails, I'm not suggesting you have to ignore emails. I am suggesting though that you schedule a time to look at emails. Now, if you are used to having your emails on throughout the day, then what I'm going to suggest as the final outcome is a few steps away. And the final outcome would be to look at emails once, maybe twice a day. If the final outcome is looking at once or twice, and you're normally used to having it on all day long, there's no point me suggesting, you just looking at it once or twice, because that is a big ask. You're looking to break a really deep ingrained habit. There's going to be all sorts of thoughts tempting you to go back and check your emails. You'll be wondering what you're missing out on and is there anything that you should be doing because you're in the habit of doing it. So you've got to sort of take yourself gently into it. And what I would suggest you do is start with something like look at emails for half an hour in every 2 hours. Now, if you can do that, and in that half hour, all you're doing is looking and answering emails. If you've got a team, then your team should be looking at the emails before you and setting them up for you. So, for example, in my business, my team look at my emails. They can see a client is looking for some information. They'll go in, check the information out, get the information ready, and put it on the email reply draft. Then I come in, I look at it, make sure it's the right thing, make sure it's answered correctly. I may add a little voice note to it or a little video note to explain it a bit more in a bit more detail if it is complicated so that clients get it first time out. And I'm always looking to solve it first time out. I don't want to leave any areas unturned because all that does is create another email where you raise subsequent questions or the client raises subsequent questions and that then eats into your time even further. Hopefully that makes sense. So what I would like you to do on emails is maybe, like I said, half an hour every 2 hours so that you're never going to be far away. Now, if you can't do half an hour every 2 hours, if you're still finding yourself distracted in the other 1 hour and a half, then you may want to do 15 minutes every hour so that you're never more than 1 hour away from looking at your emails and getting that email fixed. But wean yourself off every week, drop one of those hours so that, in the space of 4, 5, 6 weeks, you're getting down to 1 and 2 times per day. And what you'll find is that everything gets done, it gets done better, it gets done quicker. And, unless you're running an ambulance service where somebody's about to die as a result of not answering it within 4 hours, typically in business to business settings, nothing is going to happen in a 4 or 6 hour intervening period. That's going to be so detrimental that, the damage is too big. And if you explain to your clients that's what you're doing, that's your process, they have faith that you will answer them in due course in the day and they will get the answer they need. And they're busy as well. They're not going to be sitting at the desk tapping their fingers on the desk waiting for an email reply. They're going to get on with all the tasks in their day. So the next thing I want to dwell on a little bit is our mobile phones and our apps on our mobile phones. Our mobile phones were designed to be phones, right? Do you remember all those years ago with the brick phones we used to have? I was emptying out an old property I used to live in, and I found a really old phone, and it was the size of it was huge, and I'd forgotten how big and how it was used for the one thing. It was used for phone calling, right? Now, using the phone to make phone calls, I think is the 4th or 5th or even 6th most used app on the phone. So clearly the phone has outgrown its original utility into much more of a useful gadget to the extent that we feel we can't do without it. So it's on all the time. And then we've got all these companies that set up alerts on our phones. They have little red dots on the icons. I don't know if your phone does that. I know my phone does. They have little vibrate sounds, or they bing, ding when you're getting a new message in, and that draws your attention. Now that begins to go back into multitasking. Can you see that? You're focused on something and suddenly you get a bing or a vibrate sound on your desk and you turn around, look at your phone and see, oh, who's that calling? And again, unless you've got some life or death thing happening or you're in the ambulance service type thing, then you want to maybe just turn your phone off silent, put it on do not disturb, and we'll talk about some of these strategies in a second. because they're designed to distract you. They're designed by people with a lot more money and psychological research than you and I have time for, to make sure that we are addicted to these apps, addicted to the phones. Apps like Facebook and Instagram are so addictive. You look at how far, people will be walking along the street and they'll be looking at their phones and texting and tweeting and Instagramming and all sorts of stuff, that you cannot argue that it has been designed to be a complete attention sapper, a time thief, if I ever saw one. So there's my thought is first, take your phone and put it on do not disturb, which means it doesn't buzz, it doesn't whir, it doesn't bing, and you just turn it face down on the desk so that you can't see it, or put it in a drawer, or even turn it off. Then you schedule time, like you have for emails. You schedule time to spend with your apps. Maybe you spend 30 minutes in an evening with Instagram. You might find you have so much more time by doing this, because you're really unaware of how much attention and time these apps and emails are sucking away from your day. And all of a sudden you'll get your day done, you'll have more energy at the end of it, and you will be more productive. You'll get better work done in a shorter amount of time. So the next little piece I want to just touch on, which I've sort of already covered, but is batch tasks. So when you're doing emails, batch the emails, so you're doing all emails in one go. If you're making telephone calls, batch your telephone calls so that you're doing one call after another until they're done. And remember to do just one thing at a time. I sort of ask clients to focus as if they were in a meeting with their most important customer or client. Now, I know when I'm in a meeting with my customers and clients, my phone is off. I take it with me in case I need to do something while I'm in the meeting for the meeting, but the phone is on do not disturb. It's face down. There's no vibrations or anything or bings coming out of that phone. My attention is solely focused on my clients' needs and delivering what they need in the moment. And what that does is give me that focus. And so when if you've ever been in a meeting with me, you'll know how absolutely focused I am on getting the stuff done and getting it done quickly, because I know your time is valuable as my time is valuable. So we rarely have meetings for an hour, because it doesn't need an hour. If it needs 15 minutes, we get it done in 15 minutes. If you book an hour, then what you're doing is saying, well, I've got an hour. Let's burn some time with chit chat at the beginning. Let's burn some time with chit chat at the end. Let's not be structured in our meetings, all of that type of stuff. So treat each of these tasks, each of these schedule pieces, as if you were working with your favorite customer. So, and focus. Such an important thing. But remember, take it easy on yourself, because it may not be as easy as you think it is, because we're so indoctrinated into this area of interruptions. We've been led into that by stealth, and so we're caught in that. So that's it for strategy 4. In strategy 5, we're going to be talking about sprints. I'm not really talking about exercise, that will come, but we're going to be talking about sprints. So if you're interested in taking your performance to a different level, then join me in the next strategy, number 5, where we're going to be talking about sprints. So I'll see you then. Take care. Goodbye.